Now, of course, at Sarah's Country, we love innovation, and this is the most opportune time for us to, of course, innovate when we're forced to, not only vertically within our own industry, but cross-industry. The Auckland-based university spin-out, co-founded by award-winning scientists Professor David Williams and Professor Cather, have been involved in pivoting, of course, their science in animal testing through into a rapid test for Covid-19, and Professor David Williams joins us now. Evening, sir. How are you?
Hello. Oh, good to see you, Sarah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Now, this is off the back of an article where you're looking to raise over $5 million to validate a diagnostic system. It's been along the similar lines that you have been working in the dairy industry on. Would you be able to explain that?
Well, sure. So, Cather and I have been working for some years on how to understand how to measure the state of your cows, the health status and the reproductive status and the nutritional status from measurements you can make on their milk. And this system is designed for moving animals through a cowshed, so time sensitive, difficult environment, minimal intervention, and it needs to be very accurate. And it's a quite tricky measurement. And so along comes COVID, and people said to us, well, you could use that for measuring the antibodies, the immune status. So why don't you give it a go? And so that's what the company's now raising the money for. Sort of people like cows, birds through airports.
Yes, absolutely. We've got lots to learn from each other, that's for sure, in nature. David, the individual testing of what you're suggesting is of course, to eliminating a disease is not as simple as the first time round, as we experienced in the Spanish flu in the 1918, where it came back a second time. What have you learnt from animal diseases and how testing can be similar when it comes to human disease outbreaks?
Well, this is what we're doing is about trying to understand immunity and infectiousness. So this is measuring the stuff in your blood from your immune system that your body produces to fight the infection. And the methodologies are very similar to the types of measurements that we've been making in milk for cows. And so we're just adapting that. So measuring natural molecules that are in your body that are helping you fight the infection.
And I like a quote here that it's obviously not as dirty and mucky, the area of working with humans, as it is of working with cows as you're trying to measure them.
Yes, but it requires really robust methods, really robust equipment. So trying to design something for a cowshed really actually puts you on the spot. You're trying to do a kind of interesting and delicate and sensitive chemical measurement. You're trying to do it in a cowshed, so you've got to think pretty hard about how to do that. And of course, the people who are doing the measurement, they don't want to know about this, right? They just want the result. They don't want to interfere at all, and they don't want it to interfere with their workflow. And so when you think about how you're trying to do immunity testing for people, you want to do exactly the same thing. You don't want to have things where somebody has to come up to you, prick your finger and all this kind of business. And fiddle around putting something on a strip.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really want to talk to you a little bit about investment into science, and of course, it's utilised the words university spin-out. First time I've heard that, but you're working as a scientific co-founder at Orbis, and there's a lot of news around how we need to be putting a lot more funding into science in general. This is probably a time where it's highlighted that.
Yeah, that's right. And I think what motivates me and Cather and quite a lot of people like us is if you're doing scientific work, you have in view an end. You want to see your work turn out and get used. And how's that going to happen? Well, one way of doing that that's very effective is to start new companies. And that really kind of turns me on, because what does it do? It gives jobs for young people, creates growth and employment, and then I get this real kick about seeing work that I've done turn into something practical and useful that's doing something that people want to know about. I get a big kick out of that, and it's great being able. A university allows you to do this pretty well as well.
I think that you're a man that I can ask this question to. What frustrates you about science being locked up and not being allowed to be commercialised, or the funding isn't going into commercial focused science? Sort of researchers' pet projects.
There's always a problem, right? You have to persuade people that what you're trying to do is worthwhile. And so you can get frustrated when people don't believe you. That's basically what it boils down to. And so you just have to keep on at it. There's no other jurisdictions, other countries seem to have more money sloshing around, but that's okay. You've got to think a bit harder.
That's what makes us Kiwis. We have a limited budget and we come up with amazing things.
Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Professor David Williams out of the University of Auckland's spin out into Orbis, which is a company working closely now on a Covid-19 rapid test that's come out of course, animal science.
This is Sarah's Country.